Guys, we're going to eyeshadow school today, okay? Eyeshadow doesn't need to be complicated, but if you don't know what you're doing, or no one's ever told you how to do it, you won't get the results you want, it's not gonna last, and you'll end up being frustrated. And I'm here to help combat that for you. So I'm gonna kind of go through my basic eyeshadow routine, and then I'll do the full look to show you like the finished completed look. But you don't have to use the exact products I'm using, and I'll explain why I'm using what I'm using and maybe a similar alternative. So I have nothing on my face at all except for face cream. I always like to start with my eyes before I do my face foundation. That way if I get any fallout or darkness from the eyeshadow on my cheekbones, I can just wipe it away and then I'll apply my foundation. You don't have to do it like that. If you don't want to do it like that, or for whatever reason you just prefer doing your foundation first, you can always dust a little bit of translucent powder like right at the top of your cheekbone, and then that'll keep any of the darker eyeshadow particles from like settling and sticking onto your skin, and you should be able to just brush it away with a fluffy brush. But if you want to do it the way I do it, which I think is much cleaner and gives you a little bit more of a grace period, if your eyeshadow isn't what you wanted it to be, you don't have to start over. I always like to start with eyeshadow primer. So I like MAC's Paint Pot. This is soft ochre, and I have picked it up with my finger and I'm pressing it all over my lid all the way up to my eyebrow. A primer acts like double stick tape for eyeshadow. So you'll see consistencies in products like this where it's like a cream eyeshadow, or you can find a tube that you press onto your finger and then put it on. I've even seen eyeshadow primers in like a wand, like a lip gloss wand that you press on your eye and then rub around. Don't feel like you have to go high end with an eyeshadow primer. I've found great drugstore ones, and I have friends that use drugstore ones that work really well. It's a game changer as far as eyeshadow goes, so do look into that if you haven't used an eyeshadow primer ever. So once your primer is on there, pick up a brush that's flat and wide. This is an old double-ended brush from Bare Minerals. Actually, I got it at the outlet years ago, and I love it. It's my go-to. It's what I travel with. I have a bunch of different brushes, but this has been a favorite. You won't be able to find this anymore, unfortunately. My second favorite is anything from Sonia Kashuk, and then Sephora has a good range of brushes as well. But I always like to choose a medium shade for all over my lid. This is NARS Ashes to Ashes. And press your brush just against the shadow. I like to drag it against the shadow a little bit. And then if it's helpful, you can rest your elbow on something. Start in the center of your eye, and you're just going back and forth and spreading this eyeshadow throughout. You don't have to worry if there's lines where you're ending it. All of that will be blended away. So this is just getting the color on the lid all over the lid. I've found that shimmery eyeshadows are much easier to blend than matte. So if you're new or you're trying to really perfect your technique, start with a shimmery base color like that. Next, I'm picking up a brown shade from this Charlotte Tilbury palette I have. I like doing like rich browns for my crease, and you can kind of choose how dark you want it depending on how much product you pick up or how firmly you press the crease brush into your crease area and the outer corner. So again, this is the double-ended. For a crease eyeshadow application, you want a brush that's a little bit smaller, a little bit longer and more narrow. Not too tight though, because you'll end up just like drawing lines on your eyeshadow, but something still a little bit fluffy. So with the crease brush, I'm just pressing it once into the product, and then I'll rest my elbow again, and I'm gonna start at the outer corner and then just sweep back and forth. Have a light hand. You can always add more product, and you can blend it away if you've applied too much, but it's much easier to add more than take away. Just trust me on that one. So I'm doing really tiny circles, very lightly pressing, going back and forth to deposit that darker shadow. And then I'll take a look at it and decide if I want to go darker or if I'm pleased with that depth. I want to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to concentrate some just on the outside here. Now I don't have a very naturally deep crease, so I really need to force it a little bit. If your eye shape makes your crease more noticeable, you won't need to spend as much time in your crease area as I do. I kind of have to make mine show up. Okay, so I'm pleased with that darkness there. Now I'm picking up a fluffier brush, not the same one you use for your crease because you have dark eyeshadow in it. And I'm choosing a lighter shade. I'm just grabbing this other lighter shade from this Charlotte Tilbury palette. Pressing my fluffy brush into it. And now I'll just be doing strokes back and forth across where my brow bone, like kind of natural skin tone slash what got some eyeshadow primer, and where the dark color meets. I'm pressing my brush right on top of that to blend that line in. Much more time is spent on blending than actual eyeshadow application, if you've noticed. And then when it's all blended away, take your brush that had the dark shade on, fill in any areas that may have gotten overly brushed away if you need to. You can see I'm getting a little fallout on my cheekbone. That is the exact reason why I do my foundation after eyes. And then that's all there is to it. So that is like a very normal everyday eyeshadow look for me. It's sort of, 4 steps: primer, base color, crease, and then the blending with the lighter color. But when you're not doing it for a video camera, it can be really quick. The game changer product here is going to be eyeshadow primer, and then making sure you have the right brushes. If you use a brush, let me show you an example. If you grab a brush like this for your crease area, you'll hate your life. It's way too tight, and you'll end up just pressing these like dark lines back and forth on your crease. This is better for like focused work in the inside of your corner, right along your lash line. I like using this one particularly for under my eye on my lower lash line. And conversely, if you use a brush that's way too big, you'll just have this big smear of darkness. So really, this is the size you want to go for. This flat one for your lid all over, this for a crease, and then this fluffy one, which is really similar in size, just a little bit fluffier for your brow bone area.